Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 405 Southeast 68th Avenue here in Hillsboro. We're located at the rear of the home, kind of here at the rear right corner of the house, straight out from the bottom of the stairs. We have a 3-inch ABS cleanout as our point of access. I'm going to insert the camera and check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. We'll have water running here in just a moment. Here we go. Alright, transitions here at 43 feet over to 4-inch 3034 PVC pipe. And got a bunch of junk stuck to the top of the pipe there. Likely there at some point there may have been a clog possibly. It's kind of hard to say how that got up there. It looks like a bunch of grease or mildew. I mean, it's not exactly sure what it is. It looks like grease though. The only thing that's odd about this is how it's isolated to this one spot. Now that sometimes can indicate there are times where you can get like cracks in the top of the pipe, and you'll get stuff like that because water and junk is moving, through the ground into the pipe. We'll take a look at that here in just a minute on the way out. But here at 49 feet, and we'll call it 50 feet, we have reached the main lateral connection. The line's headed to the rear of the property. I'm going to do some locates just to verify exactly where this spot is at, and then we'll take a look at that spot there. Unfortunately, the only way to determine whether there's something going on underneath that would be to do a hydrojet to check to see. You have to blast all the junk out of the line there and rescope it to see if there's something underlying there. But I have seen that before in the past, where you get a crack or a hole in the top of the pipe and you get some junk that comes through, and sometimes it's a bunch of mildew and mineral deposits that slowly build up there over time as the groundwater moves through. But at this point, I have no way to confirm that. It could just as easily be just debris buildup. All right, located the camera hit successfully. The line essentially does a straight shot from the cleanout all the way to the rear fence line, and where we're currently sitting at here is about a foot prior to the fence line, the back of the property. And the line is all drained out at this point here. So if you look across the pipe there on the other side of the main, you can see how there's a substance there that is very similar. It looks like grease, very similar looking to what's here at the top of the pipe. Now, the only reason this is a little strange is how it's isolated to one spot like that. You don't generally, if you get a whole bunch of debris buildup, it's not just going to be in one spot. And this is kind of a funky area because there's seemingly nothing here that would cause that. Sometimes you'll get a belly in the line where there's standing water, and you'll get a bunch of grease and stuff building up around that. This circumstance, it's very random. It's isolated to the top of the pipe, which is the hardest spot for debris to get to. The line has to fill up all the way. So you might have a couple of different things going on here. Either the main lateral itself may have backed up at some point and deposited a bunch of junk on the top of the line, or you could have underlying damage there at the top of the pipe, and it's being concealed currently by all the junk there. So, and we have some things dangling down from the top of the pipe. which is another indicator you might have stuff seeping from the ground into the line here. Generally, you won't get that type of, it's almost like a cave stalactite. Well, very slowly stuff will drip through and actually deposit. So for that reason, I am going to recommend a Hydrojet. At this point, functionality is not being affected, but if there's underlying damage there, you know, it's one of those where there's a decent chance there could be something going on, but I have to recommend a jet and a rescope in this circumstance, just because it's kind of a strange spot there to have just debris in just one random little area and nowhere else. I wouldn't be something that I would care a whole lot about, you know, if it were down in the flow line where all the debris and everything travels, but that stuff doesn't travel up at the top of the pipe like that. So there's some reason or another why it made it up there, but nowhere else. And those little drips you see coming down that kind of look like cave stalactites, that is something I typically see when you have a line that's perforated and open to the ground. So my guess is there's something going on there underneath that. You know, it might be a crack or a small hole. Where this line runs here is smack dab between a whole bunch of large trees. So it's possible, you know, something like the tree, and it could have happened, you know, this is assuming there's a problem underneath that roots could have caused an issue there, and installation. Sometimes people are rough on the pipe, they bang it with a excavator bucket and put a crack in it, or something like that. So I am going to recommend a Hydrojet and a rescope to see if there's some underlying damage there, because if there is a crack or something like that that's perforated, being as close as that is to those trees, I mean, it's on 1 foot to either side are large trees. So that's my concern there, is there may be some underlying damage to the pipe. Again, you could just be a whole bunch of debris buildup there from something that's happened in the past, but I would expect that we'd see a lot more junk built up in the line and not just right there at that one spot. We're going to go ahead and reel the camera on out of the line here. At this time, we have great flow to the main. Aside from the area there that's in question, all the other pipe is in great condition, and that section there, again, could also be in great condition, and it's not damaged at all. Until that stuff's been removed, though, there's no way to confirm that. And it's very thick. I mean, that junk up there is a 1/2 to 3/4 inch thick, so it's a lot of junk to just get stuck to the top of the pipe from a clog that may have happened in the past. Typically, when you have clogs and a backup or a partial backup, you're going to get a lot more debris collected in the line other than just a little area like that. So anyway, I recommend a jet and a rescope to reassess that section of the pipe there. Aside from that, the rest of the line's in great shape, and the line is functioning properly at this time. There's no functionality that's being affected at this time by what's stuck to the top of the pipe there at 46 feet. My concern, though, is that there may be damage there, and at some point, if there is a crack or a hole in the top of the pipe, I can guarantee you'll get roots through it if you just give it time. That's assuming that there is damage to the pipe there. After the rescope, after the drain cleaning, make sure it gets rescoped, and if there is any repair work done due to damage underneath there, make sure that is rescoped as well to make sure the repair looks good.